I'm actually very disappointed because James from Twitter came in, had an amazing hip-hop song.
He did.
That played.
He did. Didn't you bring your own theme music with you?
No, I didn't, but I should have.
You
probably.
should have. Well, let's sit down. If we sit down, can you see us all from the back, or is it better if we stand? Stand.
Let's
stand. All right. Well, let's stand, and then we'll do this as a kind of live, kind of hip-hop thing, if you like, or however you want to play it.
Maybe later, after cocktail.
So, Olivier, I don't know whether you were here this morning, but the opening panel, there was a pretty clear message, and it was that Silicon Valley isn't the place that's teaching Asia social. I mean, if I can summarize it succinctly, it was a fairly stark message. It was a little surprising, but maybe not when you have local companies that want to talk about their prowess, but nonetheless, that was the message, that Asia is finding its own way. So you're a Silicon Valley company, so tell us about what you've done in Asia.
Well, first and foremost, the mission of LinkedIn is to connect the world professional to make them more productive and successful. And we feel very strongly that this is, as a statement, something that's very relevant to Asia and globally relevant. And what we see, and we have now 175 million members around the world, and that includes 30 million in this part of the world.
30, so,
30,
right.
yeah. And so these members are really leveraging LinkedIn to get better at what they do. And I think a good example we like to give is, when is the last time you actually updated your resume when you were not looking for a job? Probably not.
Not.
People do update their LinkedIn profile every day, even though they're not looking for a job, because they know that this is part of their online identity, and that is their way to actually present and represent themselves in the professional sphere under the best way. And so this is hopefully something that resonates internationally, and so far our growth number in Asia are showing that this model applies. We've grown 130% according to Comscore year over year in terms of unique visitors on the platform in Asia.
Is there any difference in the way people are using LinkedIn here compared with other countries?
So what we see is we run followers. I mean, the way the social bit of our business rotates around what we call the followers ecosystem, which is really an opt-in relationship between brands and their consumers. And we run a followers study, and we ask questions to about 900 people in the APAC region. What we see is that directionally it's pretty much the same things. People expect to be more engaged by brands on social media, and particularly on LinkedIn. They expect a conversation with those brands. What we see is Asia is probably a step beyond. Around 63% of our members in the US are following company or expecting to follow companies. If you look at Hong Kong numbers, it's actually 76%. If you look at India numbers, it's actually 91%. So I think there is an interest, an even further interest in terms of engaging with brand on social media in this part of the world.
Why are they following companies? Are they following them as brands? Are they following them as potential employers, as competitors, as business partners?
So, it's both a place where you source business and connections. It's also a place where you create advocacy and a special relationship and an emotional relationship with brands. So, there's no doubt that in social media, the relationship becomes very participative, and people are expecting several points of contact with a brand. And they don't define their relationship with a brand anymore with a message that was delivered by this brand to them. They define it through a series of experiences that they have with the brand and that they're going to be sharing. So through the followers ecosystem, that's exactly the system we're putting in place. So we've got both. We've got people that come to companies from an employer branding perspective, and also people that are going to consumer brands like the Samsung of the world, for example, because they're very keen to hear about product. One big difference we see, though, is because of the mindset and the context of LinkedIn being professional, they're much less inclined into getting deals or coupon or special price when they come to LinkedIn. They're much more feature-oriented, trying to understand if they are really wanting to buy this product, if it's the right product for them, getting the right type of insight, business insight and product insight.
Why are 91% of Indians following companies compared with, what, 60-something% of Americans? I mean, that's a very big difference.
It is. I'm guessing it also part of Asian population and Indian population being younger. I'm amazed. I've been in Asia now for 9 years. I'm always amazed with the speed at which people are adopting technologies and trends in this part of the world. And so I think that's part of it. Indians are rushing into new technologies, are very interested into being engaged on social, and they do it on LinkedIn at scale. We have 16 million members now in India.
But in some ways, they're doing it differently from the way they're doing it in the States. They're doing different things. They're following more companies.
They're following more companies. They're engaging more with companies.
Right.
It's the same thing, but more of it, I would say.
Yeah. Well, to take a step back for a moment, I mean, LinkedIn's primary business is hiring. I mean, more than half the revenue comes from companies that are hiring, that want to tap
roughly half of the revenue.
Tap into this network. So tell us about your relationship with companies. How do they feel about this? Because I mean, essentially, what you're doing is giving their employees a chance to advertise themselves. So you're facilitating the brain drain, aren't you?
I think we are exactly the opposite. We're facilitating and giving abilities to companies to identify the right talent and to get people their dream jobs. And so what companies are able to do on LinkedIn is very unique. It's accessing a passive candidate base of people that could potentially work for their company if they were presented with the right opportunity, but they don't necessarily look for a job. And so that really redefines the way people and companies are looking at managing their talent. So rather than being a place where, rather than seeing us as a place where they're going to lose their talent, they should see us as a place where they're going to source their talent.
But are they seeing you that way?
Oh yeah, very much. I mean, this is why this is such a big business for us.
Yeah.
If you look at the marketing solutions business, though, we have 3 lines of business: hiring solutions, marketing solutions, and the premium subscriptions. In the second quarter of this year, marketing solutions is going to be about $63 million, and it's up 64%. So it's a big business. It's a very important part of what we do as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously one point that stands out with LinkedIn right now after the social bust that we've seen in the last, or at least in the stock market in the last few months. LinkedIn share price has stayed up. You do have diversified streams of revenue, and yet marketing is the one that there's the biggest question over generally in social. So 64% growth you talked about is still much lower than LinkedIn is seeing in hiring or in premium subscriptions, where growth is incredibly strong. So what's happening? A market is just a little slow to get on the game here, or are they just not seeing enough value? Why is it such a...
These are 2 very different businesses. One is a SaaS business, and the other one being a advertising and related business. I think what we do and what's very unique about what we do is offering at scale access to an affluent and influential audience. And so it's important that we build the membership in all these markets to become more and more relevant to those marketers. The uniqueness of what we do is really, for me, around 4 pillars. What we do for marketing solutions around media. So you're talking about display advertising, poll advertising, but also things like so display poll, but also rich media advertising and others. And then there's another layer, which is data, which obviously allows targeting, and which is really, really important and part of what we do, and also allows much deeper analytics, and that's really where the difference lies. I think when you advertise on LinkedIn, you don't only know what's your click-through, you know who are the people that have been clicking, what industry they're working for, what seniority they have in their job, which company they've been working across, the time that they've been spending on the platform. And the other 2 pillars being really integration, social, around company pages and groups, and what we call integration. Integration is really transporting the experience of LinkedIn outside our platform. So it's our sets of APIs and plugins, which really allows company to build very strong relationship and leverage some of the assets of LinkedIn. So we've done something really cool recently with Vodafone in India, for example, for their Formula One, where they're running a contest leveraging LinkedIn for small companies to actually get their logo on the Formula One, basically. And what they do for that is they go on LinkedIn and use their network to actually call for votes as a company and asking people within the network to actually design and define them as the winner of this competition, which is going to be allowing them to be on the car. Only with the power of LinkedIn and the amplification that you have through connections and connections are you able to do this. And for this, they've been leveraging some of our API assets and integrations of.
I mean, for a lot of this, companies don't have to pay money. A company doesn't have to pay money to have followers. So how do you actually make money out of this business? How do you turn, how do you supercharge social, if you like, and create the kind of paid ways of making it more valuable than it would be just, as a free platform?
Through our targeting capabilities, we're able to accelerate the process of actually gathering people into your page. So, when we talk about our followers ecosystem, we really look at a framework where we tell companies that they have to create first and foremost a company page on which they're going to have product and services and places where people are going to be able to get information from them. The second part is really to gather the right people to come and follow their company. And so if you do it organically, it can take a little bit of time and people are coming to you. If you use our platform and our advertising, you're able, through display advertising, to target the right people and invite them to follow your company. So you're fast forwarding this ability to build the community. And once you've built the community, you're in a position to engage this community, and we encourage our advertisers to look into internal assets, content that they've been developing across their company for media or for internal purpose that they're willing to share to actually engage this community into a meaningful conversation. Once you've done that, which is very unique about social, is we're able to amplify that message. And as you know, LinkedIn is a 3-degree network. So I have 2,000 connections on LinkedIn, which connects me at my 3rd degree with 15 million people. If I receive a message from a brand and like this message, comment this message, or share it, all of a sudden my 15 million social graph of like-minded people that have worked in different industries that I've been involved in are going to be exposed to that. And that's very important. And the last point, which is extremely important when you think about ROI, is really about using the data and the analytics to actually analyze and refine your campaign. Because what's very special about a platform like ours is we tell you who are the people, but we also tell you what works and what don't. And you're able to see how you engage people and what has been working, what has been creating, actually riding on this virality and has been shared and commented more. And
one of the big criticisms more generally of social from a lot of marketers has been the availability of data and analytics to really understand what's happening, how people are engaging with them, and what kind of results they're getting. How would you say that marketers are doing right now in terms of getting that kind of access and actually being able to do something useful with it? I mean, this is very early stage, right?
I don't know about the market, but LinkedIn is probably the biggest panel in the world with 175 million people and their profiles in there. So insights and research is a core of what we do at the company. So very often we go beyond the metrics that brands are using, like click-throughs and others, in purely in digital space. And we're looking at things like basically brand equity studies, where we're looking at a given community or a given target for a brand and running research and a study before the campaign. And we are able to go through the campaign and look at things like net promoter scores, for example, which are things that a lot of CMOs are using across media, and that they will be able to measure whether they've been able to create a lift on their net promoter score on the LinkedIn community.
Can you give us any examples of campaigns that have done this?
Oh yeah, people like Citibank, for example, have been doing this, and I've been using this. Citi's done something really interesting. Citi's wanted to engage women in business, and they've actually had
this is in Asia or globally?
This is global. And so that includes Asia. And what they were doing for a couple of years through Women & Co., which is a website that they own, is creating content for business, for women in business. What was a bit more challenging for them is to get the community going on that particular place. And so they came to us and we started working with them. And we designed a number of things with them. We first built a group on LinkedIn for women in business. And this group, in a matter of 4 or 5 weeks, got 30,000 women, businesswomen in their target group that actually joined that group. We got 18% growth week on week on that group. Women were coming back to this group. And subgroups have been organically created by these women to discuss some particular topics that they wanted to take off the group. Physical meets have been actually organized by some women that felt that they were connected with the right people within the community. The other thing we've done is we've used our LinkedIn Today publishers ecosystem to actually build together with Citi and the Women & Co team weekly newsletter that were focused on what women were doing in business and success stories of women in business. So creating actual content together with the bank for.
So what does Citi actually get out of this? What are they measuring at the end of it?
They're measuring really well net promoter scores. I can't really share data from the client. They're basically measuring against a particular community that they felt was important to them and they wanted to engage more, and that they were having difficulties to actually reach out to, and to be really able to get them into a meaningful conversation in a Citi environment, basically.
Yeah. I'd love to take some questions from the audience. Maybe we can put the Twitter stream back up, and maybe I can read it this time. It's been a little difficult. Maybe it's my eyesight or the 3D imaging, but maybe as it comes by, we'll see what we can catch.
It looks a little bit 3D, yeah.
That's the way we silence our negative feedback. We just sort of make it all fuzzy. You know, going back to your presence here, so I think you were suggesting, so 30 million members out of 180 million is 20%, a bit less than 20%, 18%.
Yeah.
Relatively little revenue at the moment. Only 5% of LinkedIn's revenue is coming out of Asia. So why is that? Just because you're later in the game, or is this a smaller revenue opportunity?
I mean, we're getting more and more meaningful. We're a newcomer in Asia. We opened our headquarters in Singapore a year ago. And during that period, we actually have opened a few more offices. So basically, our first places where we started to do business were Australia and India. Started a couple of years ago. A year ago, we opened Singapore, and now we have 9 offices across the region. So it's really about rolling out our teams, our sales force. I think the other thing that's really important is maybe we should replace that with the mission. So connect the world professional. Currently 175 million people connected. When we look by some measure, what's the goal? It's 640 million knowledge workers in the world. So that's what we want to connect. And so obviously as a company, when we want to fulfill that goal, and we want very hard to do this, and actually to go beyond that, I'll come back to that, Asia is a very important part of what we do. And so what we've been doing over the years, I was saying, you know, we see a lot of similar views on how the platform is used. Nevertheless, localization we feel is very important. And so that's why we decided to be here and have a strong presence here. That's also why we've launched language like Korean, Japanese, Bahasa Malaysia, Bahasa Indonesia to get stronger at it. And that's also why our mobile offering is so important to us, because we know in this part of the world things mobile are very important, and that's going to be supporting our growth.
So what have you actually done for mobile? You know, it seems we've seen Facebook stripping down its experience for mobile, buying Instagram as a mobile-specific application. It seems that mobile is different. People behave differently. How are people using LinkedIn on mobile? So
we roughly now have 22% of our traffic that happens on mobile. And it's growing 4x year on year globally. And if you look at Asia particularly, it's actually 8x. No surprise. What the product team has been doing, and you know, this is a little bit outside of what I do, but that was very interesting. And we launched a first version of our application that I'm sure a lot of people have been using that had pretty much everything you could do on LinkedIn on it, and a number of modules that you could use to do everything that's available on the platform. And it did well. It grew, a lot of downloads. But at some point, the team looked back at it and said, well, we need to simplify this. And I think simplify is a very key word here. And we focused on 3 things that were really, really important to the application. And relaunched a new version of them. What are they're about your profile, they're about messaging, and they are about your connections, basically. And with the 3 things, what was very interesting is by removing things, we've actually grown engagement on the platform. People started using more. And so, learning from mobile, and you'll see things coming out from our homepage redesign and so on. I think that's something that we want to apply across when we look at our products. Simplifying our product is actually driving more engagement. Yeah.
Tom, do you have some questions?
First, in terms of mobile and LinkedIn, one of the great things that I love is an app called Card Munch. Is that been, I hear another person shouting about Card Munch.
I heard yes.
As up to now unavailable, basically you take a photograph of a name card and it connects you on LinkedIn, you see all the connections are, you can link up with them. Is that going to be available in Asia soon?
I don't know when, but it will for sure at some point.
Okay.
For now, Card Munch is available, I think, in the UK and US app stores. Card Munch is actually an acquisition that we've done, and so our team are looking at how we can even better integrate Card Munch into our product, and that will be part of a relaunch, basically.
Okay. Another question coming off of Twitter is LinkedIn seems to be an English-based platform, and how it engages. What is it looking forward? How are you going to engage in other languages and
we have 17 languages on the platform now, and we feel very strongly about it. It's really important that we're able to localize our products, as I mentioned. So available in French, Spanish. I mentioned a number of Asian languages, and that's across desktop and mobile, and iPad, of course.
Okay, great.
I rather like that. Now I see I have a slightly 2D version of the Twitter stream here. I rather like the comment that I should be using an iPad because that's the way to do it. So Ultrabooks don't work. It should be doing it on an iPad.
Okay, excellent. We're moving quickly into our coffee break.
Let's do that.
So thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Olivier.
Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you, everybody.